Master Honeck, we are in the intermission, and we would like to ask you something for the beginning about the program. I mean, there's a very kind of, South German, Austrian program, but with some dark notes also in the first half, and as we will hear, the second half.
That's indeed true. Haydn's military symphony has something to do with military, and the military is never always peaceful. It has also some elements. In this symphony especially is actually the Turkish music, the Janitscharen music, which in the time of Haydn and Mozart was extremely popular, but also frightening. Remember the abduction of Sarail by Mozart.
Sure.
So where they used it, and people were still frightened by that because they experienced some years before that the Turkish army was in the front of Vienna. If the Polish King Sobieski would not have helped us, we would probably be Turkish now.
Yes.
So
also there are some clouds on Haydn and certainly Mahler.
Absolutely. The point is that the Haydn and Mozart and Beethoven it goes directly into Mahler's world. You cannot disconnect Haydn and Mozart and Beethoven from Mahler. I think this is very important, and of course when Mahler wrote the Kindertotenlieder, we have to know that he was extremely interested in the poems by Rückert. He has written thousands, not thousands, but a lot of poems, and this selection, these 5 selections are only some of them, probably the best ones. I think he used. He had an enormous feeling for good text, and we know this also from the Wunderhorn songs and so to say the Rückert Lieder.
A very intimate sound, sometimes very chamber music even.
Exactly, but I think it is the most important for him was actually to describe the world of a child. And for me it's no surprise that the bow starts this song cycle. And it is typical, like in some of the Wunderhorn songs, also very chamber music, like very light sometimes, but also brutal, but he's able to create some accords harmonically varied, and the pain, the doloroso, and on the other side also describing the world of a child, with this innocence, the pureness. And that's one of the reasons why he chooses a little bit lighter instrumentation, because childhood is not always very thick, it's rather thin and tender. And what I'm still impressed by Mahler's ability to describe the peace when the child finally has left the world. He writes here Wiegenlied, like something, nothing happened. And
something like a religious belief.
Absolutely. It's now in a world, and it's clear that he uses the Glockenspiel, for example, a very tender Glockenspiel. Of course, it might be children played the Glockenspiel, but it's also a symbol for heaven, like a piccolo also. Piccolo can be also like in the weather, when it describes the weather with a sharp, windy, icy sound, but also the heavenly moment. For example, Urlicht, when the angels, da kamen 3 Engelein, and he uses here the piccolo, so the highest wood instrument.
Yes.
So that's, I think he uses every register, but when he ends that, it sounds like the music is already in heaven.
That's right. But this is very different from the music of Strauss and Electra, almost a pagan music.
It's indeed very strong and cruel, and it's, as you said, pagan music. When I played myself as a viola player in Wiener Staatsoper, the Electra, I was amazed about this music, about the impact of the harmony and the orchestration. It's the biggest orchestra Strauss have used. And I thought myself, how is it possible that Strauss did not make a suite out of that?
Yes.
Remember, he wrote a suite of Rosenkavalier, Frau ohne Schatten, intermezzo. We know the Salome dances, which are very often used. But for me, the most orchestral opera of all his opera, might be Salome also, and later on Frau Chantal a little bit, but is Electra. And he did not make a suite. So I thought myself, let's do it myself. A suite on that and bring this fantastic orchestral opera on stage in a concert. And I wanted to actually treat this like a tone poem, like a Don Juan or Heldenleben. So it has actually the size of that, but without losing the intensity of the...
that appears in the beginning and at the end.
Absolutely. So I took the freedom to bring the first Agamemnon theme in the beginning. This is Agamemnon. This is described in musically. I bring it twice, and it comes back in the end, and of course, like a developed subject in the middle, it comes all the time.
But I think the orchestra makes it a little bit different, and it struck me that when I heard the concert, that Haydn, brought the symphony into the concert hall. It was used to be played, in courts before.
Absolutely.
that. Mahler brings the lead, to the orchestra, and you now, with the help of your Czech colleague, bring, the opera into the concert hall.
That's true. And the reason is, it's just a fantastic music, and I don't want to have experienced this music only for opera lovers. And one thing is also for me always important. It is also a joy to listen just to the music.
That's right. As music.
As music, as it is written by Strauss himself. Don't misunderstand, it's still, the opera is great, and I think always would suggest go to the opera and to listen to the opera. But this version brings also an idea what it could be. So what I try to do is to tell the story. So we have this, all these protagonists of the opera. You have Electra herself.
They have dissolved into sound, into orchestral sound.
In orchestral sound, and of course it is always a challenge to replace the singing. But everything, and we discovered that everything is already written in the score. So it was not that difficult to replace the voices. On some occasions we had to do this, of course, but it's amazing how he doubled the voice already in the orchestra.
But do you think that the Erlebnis, the experience is different when you sit in the audience and you look at the cellos or at the horns, whatever, instead of looking at the singers or seeing a kind of a build, a picture, of old Greece?
Absolutely. When the visual effect is gone and is lost, there's no way. They have to concentrate on the music, like you would do it on a Heldenleben tone poem. You see then the themes played by different instruments, and that's also an adventure. But you can concentrate on the music itself. It's pure music. And when you sit in an opera, of course, you will see any gesture, you have light, you have action, and the music is here, probably not always so dominant as it should be, but of course, the orchestra, why we have concert halls is that the people can concentrate on music.
And what is, how do you sum your experience with the Philharmonic? I noticed that the orchestra is very young. And really, it's, the sound is very fresh. What do you think?
Absolutely. The orchestra is in a fantastic condition, wonderful musicians. They have emotions, and music making is excellent, and they are willing to work and taking every suggestions from me into the music. So it's a joy to be here with this great orchestra. And I think this is one of the orchestra where I think the sound picture can be fantastic. When you, especially what we call might be the sound, the romantic sound. This is amazing when to find the warmness and roundness.
But you know, beyond it, you know, some people of the orchestra describe the experience of working with you as a spiritual experience, and I think it has something to do with your own convictions about music.
That's the most important, because if you cannot stand behind the music, the next second the musicians will find it out that there must be something wrong. So when I studied a score, I am very careful with every phrase and every atmosphere. So, and then the second question, how can I get it out of the orchestra?
Yes.
And that's one of the things it's always a challenge of orchestra.
But is it a technical question or a spiritual question?
Actually, the technical question, this is easy to get because we learn a technique, like you learn an instrument. But the other thing is the treatment of the musicians. I like to treat the musicians as my friends and my musicians. I know I have to give an interpretation, but it's they who play the music and to give them ideas how to do it. Now you can be easily a dictator. And we know we have a lot of examples in the history of conductor, that behave like a dictator. But in nowadays, where we are a little bit kind of used to democracy and on understanding and tolerance, I think nowadays, I think it is good to understand from the point of a conductor that the role of the musicians is at least equal to that you have as a conductor, in my opinion.
But as to the music itself, I mean, this is music that was written, 100 years ago, 200 years ago and more. Does it have relevance, a spiritual relevance for us today?
Absolutely, absolutely. I think this music is more than as it was before. And one of the things which is also extremely important, nowadays we are longing for that, because our time, modern time, is packed with technology, with technical things, and nothing against that. I use it myself, and it's important. But sometimes, and I feel that in our times, it's coming to the time where we want to go back in the orchestra halls and feel the peace, another world. When you're here in another hall, you're in another world. Yes. So the world of Haydn is 200 years ago, and we have still the feeling this is like yesterday.
Even though the sadness, the pain is going into the music.
Absolutely, and pain is timeless, actually, and also the cruel war elements in Haydn, also in the children die today, today also. So those who are suffering that, they will completely understand. And Electra, with this disharmony and with this brutalness, I mean, look on the world. Every day we experience some news about sad news, and this is timeless. And the music can describe it as sensational.
Can it comfort us?
It can comfort us, and here is the spiritual effect. Definitely, here we have the possibility to bring something to the audience. When we understand on the stage the music, so the spirit is enormously important to understand. There is something more than we believe in our world, so than we experience in our. There's something we cannot describe, and you cannot describe music. Why do we have emotions? How did it come to describe music?
Describes itself.
Itself, and love is the same.
Yes. Master Honeck, thank you very much, and we are looking forward to hear and to see the second part of the concert.
Thank you very much. Enjoy the music.
Thank you.
Thank you.